This message was hidden. Archangel Michael's warning was about the one who shows up when you're weak. The silence was sacred. It split the air like a sword through veils, and in that divine stillness, time fractured. One side tethered to your pain, the other to your rising. You didn't notice it at first. The shift was invisible, felt only by the spirit, not the senses. But heaven was watching, and so was he, Michael, the commander, the defender, the archangel of divine justice and spiritual intervention. He stood at the edge of the unseen, holding a message so heavy it could not yet be spoken aloud. Until now, this message was hidden. Hidden not because it was irrelevant, but because it was too dangerous to reveal before your soul was quiet enough to receive it. You had to be still. You had to stop reaching, stop talking, stop running and listen. Not just with your ears, but with your spirit. Heaven had been holding this revelation behind layers of spiritual confidentiality, waiting for that precise second when your silence would signal readiness. That second is now. Not everyone will hear it. Not everyone is meant to. This is not for the curious, it's for the consecrated. It's not for the masses, it's for the few whose spirits have been marked by fire, whose journeys have carved holy scars into their timelines. This is for the spiritually alert, those who feel the stirring, the shift, the unseen tension in the air. You felt it, haven't you? The unease that creeps in when certain people enter the room. The delay in peace. The heaviness in your chest when you answer that one message. You've been betrayed, and you couldn't even explain how. You've been watched, monitored, targeted, and it didn't come in the form you expected. It came cloaked in sweetness, wrapped in smiles, but laced with venom meant for your downfall. This is not about chance. This is about timing. Strategic. Demonic. Precise. This is about traps. Spiritual traps. Laid out by entities who studied your emotional patterns and positioned the wrong person at your weakest hour. But Archangel Michael comes now, not just as a messenger, but as a defender with a warning, one that heaven refused to release until your soul quieted enough to hear what could destroy or deliver you. Yes, this is warfare, but not with weapons made by man. This is warfare of intentions, of energy, of spiritual proximity. And the one you thought was a comforter, they were a snare. Understand this deeply. Only those who obey silence will hear truth. This moment is not just an unfolding, it's an unveiling. And those who have ears, let them hear. Type "I am anointed" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1122 is now activated. That is where it began. Not in your strength. Not in your boldest prayer. Not in the moment you posted encouragement to others, while silently battling your own unseen storm. No, this began in your silence, in that sacred internal collapse that no one noticed but heaven. It was there, in the hush of your deepest ache, that something ancient moved. The earth did not shake, but the spirit realm did. Michael was there. He was watching, not in condemnation, not in judgment, but in defense. He saw what others missed. He saw the moment you bit your tongue instead of lashing out. He saw the moment you laid in bed, staring into the dark, trying to discern what this invisible warfare meant. He saw when you decided to forgive them anyway, though they deserved none of it. He saw it all. Before dawn breaks tomorrow, the door will close. You do not have the luxury of delay. This is not a moment to overthink, to pacify your spirit with polite prayers. This is a divine interruption. Michael was not released for your comfort. He was sent for your protection. and his presence always signals warfare, covert and critical. This is your moment, chosen and seen. And yet, not everything around you will agree with it. Because truth rarely enters quietly. When heaven decides to unveil, the earth trembles. There is a tension in the atmosphere because heaven has been watching how the enemy circles you. Not with horns and chaos, but with manipulation, with convenience, with flattery. Listen closely. Truth comes only to the broken. This is the paradox of heaven. It doesn't crown the strong. It crowns the surrendered. It doesn't whisper into the ears of the boastful. It confides in the ones who collapse into prayer with nothing left but a whisper of faith. That is who you are. That is why this message found you. Because deception has danced too close to your doorway. And the watchers, those dark forces who observe, who study, who manipulate, they took note. Not of your strength, but of your silence. They noted the moment you started to fade in your trust. They noticed when you lowered your boundaries because you missed connection. That moment, the vulnerable hour, is when they showed up. Your timing was not coincidence. It was planned. The one who shows up when you're weak does not always come to help you rise. Sometimes they come to keep you low. But Michael's sword is drawn today, and this message, though it pierces, is the only thing that can separate you from a trap that's been set in motion. You didn't imagine it. You weren't overreacting. The emotional fog, the spiritual heaviness, the sense that something's off when they appear, it wasn't just you. It was discernment. Heaven's sirens, muffled only because your mind didn't want to believe your spirit. But now there is no more room for delay. Time has accelerated in the spirit. Decisions made in this hour will echo for years. You cannot afford another wrong alliance, another manipulative embrace, another demonic distraction disguised as a destiny helper. You were called higher, and the elevation always invites resistance. The higher the calling, the greater the attack. Not obvious and not loud, but intimate. Targeted. Personalized. And that's why Michael came. Because only an archangel can guard against warfare this surgical. You need to understand. This is not just another message. This is your moment. You were not randomly scrolling. You were divinely summoned. The warning was hidden until your silence reached the frequency of heaven's urgency. You were not being ignored. You were being preserved. Preserved for this hour. Preserved so you wouldn't respond emotionally to the wrong voice. Preserved so your obedience would outweigh your loneliness. Preserved so your discernment could sharpen through pain. Heaven chose this hour for your unveiling. Because it's not just about what you'll see, it's about what will be revealed in you. The real you. The warrior behind the winds. The prophet behind the pain. The intercessor behind the insecurities. The divine one who remained faithful, even when everything in you screamed to retaliate, to collapse, to quit. You were seen. You were selected. You were sanctified through silence. Now rise in reverence. This moment is sacred. And as you listen on, prepare, because what comes next will shake what you thought you knew about who was sent to help and who was sent to destroy. Type "I am chosen" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 666 is now surrounding you. Don't forget to subscribe for more prophetic guidance, spiritual insight, and divine revelation sent right to your soul. Stay aligned. Stay alert. There's a reason heaven kept them hidden. Because the wind didn't come with a weapon. It came with a whisper. Because this isn't about obvious evil. This is about emotional deception dressed in kindness. It is about the one who shows up not with fangs, but with flattery, not with curses, but with compliments. And yet, every time they're near, something in you grows heavy. Something divine within you dims. They did storm in with destruction. They slid in through the cracks in your vulnerability. They waited, watched, and entered when your walls were lowered, not out of trust, but out of exhaustion. They didn't need an invitation. Your weariness was enough. And when you were too tired to discern, they offered what sounded like relief. They spoke softly. They listened carefully. They positioned themselves as a comfort, but their presence drained you. You noticed it, didn't you? They always arrive when your defenses are down. After the loss. After the breakdown. After the argument. After the fast. They come when you are tired, when your prayers have turned to groans, when you don't even have the strength to lift your discernment. And yet, you couldn't put your finger on it. Why do I feel worse after I'm around them? Why do I feel more confused, more anxious, more unsure, when their words were kind? Because their tone was sweet, but their energy disturbed. Because they said all the right things, but you felt all the wrong things. Because heaven was signaling a contradiction, and your spirit picked up what your soul tried to silence. There is a reason you began to feel emotionally disoriented after every conversation. You were being spiritually sedated. Slowly, subtly, carefully. Their strategy wasn't to destroy you overnight. It was to dull your clarity until you couldn't tell truth from toxicity. And you knew something was wrong. You felt that internal misalignment, a dissonance. Like your peace had been robbed, but you couldn't accuse them. That's what made it so dangerous. That's what made it so confusing. They didn't attack. They disarmed. They saw your tears, yes, but they also saw an opportunity. They studied your patterns. They noticed the ache in your silence, the loneliness in your laughter. They weren't drawn to your strength. They were drawn to your weakness. They entered, not to heal, but to hold you just enough to keep you from healing fully. That's the danger of a gentle betrayer. Because they don't just hurt you, they delay you. They don't push you backwards, they just keep you standing still. Emotionally addicted, spiritually blurred, feeling seen but never safe, feeling loved but never clear. There's a name for what you've been fighting, and it's not confusion, it's contamination. Emotional contamination. Spiritual interference. A soul tie wrapped in empathy. I mimicked what comfort looked like, but they carried a hidden motive. Not always consciously, but always spiritually. And now, heaven is pulling the veil back. This is why the message was hidden, because if it had been revealed too soon, you would have defended them. If it had been shown in your strength, you would have justified the connection. But now, after all the misalignment, after all the cycles, after all the dissonance, you're finally quiet enough to admit what you sensed all along. They were never meant to stay. They were never sent by God. They were positioned, assigned, and the assignment was you. The gentle betrayer doesn't arrive with obvious intentions. They study, then substitute. They comfort, then confuse. They show up when you're weak, so they can stay when you begin to recover. And that's the part that breaks you, because just as you began to rise, they began to tighten their grip. But the divine alarm has been triggered. Michael has drawn his sword. The silence is broken. The message is released. And the one who was hidden behind masks of mercy, they are being exposed. There's a reason heaven kept them hidden. Because if you had known earlier, you would have delayed your deliverance. But now you're ready. Ready to let go. Ready to choose clarity over closeness. Ready to surrender what felt safe for what is sacred. You were not crazy. You were being watched. And what you thought was emotional instability was actually spiritual interference. If this message has stirred your spirit and confirmed what you felt, consider sowing a super thanks. Even just $20 makes a difference in helping us continue bringing these deep revelations to light. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating through the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. And don't forget to subscribe, so you don't miss the prophetic insight and spiritual truth that heaven is pouring out in this hour. You are being equipped for what's next. Stay connected. Stay covered. Type "I am awakened" in the comments if this message pierced you. Lesson code 7744 is now in effect. This isn't just betrayal. It's demonic positioning. It wasn't personal. It was strategic. This wasn't just someone who misunderstood you. This was a spirit that studied you. This wasn't about emotions, it was about assignments. And the one who showed up when you were weak. They were dispatched, not decided. Sent, not selected. They were assigned to your weakness, not your strength. Because darkness doesn't fear your low moments, it exploits them. The enemy is a counterfeit strategist. He mimics God's timing with demonic appointments. And when heaven is preparing to elevate you, hell sends distractions dressed as destiny. The one you almost called a blessing. They were a blockage. Don't confuse affection with assignment. Just because they felt familiar doesn't mean they were from the Father. Some people walk in on cue, not because they are aligned, but because they are allowed, for a season, for a lesson, for exposure. Heaven has documented it all. Every time they manipulated your trust. Every moment they kept you tethered in confusion. Every seed they planted to make you doubt your discernment. This is spiritual warfare. But not loud. Not theatrical. This is covert. Emotional espionage. Spirits moving through people to dull your power, drain your focus, distract your soul. They didn't come to build. They came to bind. You are not under attack because you're weak. You're under attack because you're worthy. The calling on your life has painted you with spiritual ink. And while the world sees nothing, the unseen realm recognizes it. You're marked. Chosen. Sealed. And that's why opposition finds you. Because darkness can smell destiny. You didn't lose control. You didn't let the wrong person in because you were foolish. You were targeted, precisely at your lowest. That wasn't random. That wasn't accidental. That was calculated spiritual warfare. And you wonder why you've been tired. You've been carrying the weight of someone else's warfare. You've been trying to love someone sent to limit you. But heaven is intervening now. The watchers have been identified. The assignment is being severed. The false alignment is being exposed. No more pretending. No more spiritual blindness. No more emotional compromise. Because God doesn't just fight for you. He reveals what's fighting against you. And today, He's pulling back the curtain. You are not imagining the interference. You are not being dramatic. You are under strategic pressure because you are carrying something sacred. Let the truth set you free. Type "I am" marked in the comments if this word resonates. Blessing code 888 is now surrounding you with divine clarity. They are not finished with you. Not yet. Even now, in the silence that surrounds you, something stirs in the shadows. There is movement behind the veil. They have noticed your distance. They have felt the disconnect, and they are preparing to act again. Not with rage, not with resistance, but with reconnection. A soft entry, a subtle text, a casual "I've been thinking about you." And if you're not guarded, that small door becomes a wide gate. Heaven is sounding the alarm. Within 3 days, they will try again. It may come through a memory that feels like warmth, a song that makes you miss their presence, a dream that pulls your soul back into unsafe territory. It will not be obvious. It will not scream evil. But you will know. You will feel the disturbance. You will sense the violation, not in the mind, but in the spirit. This is your escape window, and the stakes are higher than you realize. This is not just another temptation. This is a trap reset. This is the enemy's last attempt to re-establish a connection to your soul that heaven already severed. If you re-engage now, you do not just risk pain, you risk progress. You risk your place. You risk your promise. Heaven has already cleared your path, but your response in this moment will determine if you walk forward or fall back. You see, their method hasn't changed. They still plan to twist your trust because it worked before. They still remember the version of you who needed closure, who needed connection, who craved comfort more than clarity. But you are not that person anymore. You've been awakened. You've been repositioned. And this message is your final warning. Listen to the shift. Pay attention to the tension. There will be a sign, a strange encounter, a heavy dream, a sudden urge to reach out to someone who has no business in your destiny. That urge is not yours. It is warfare. Don't speak. Don't respond. Don't justify. Stay silent. That is the test. Because silence is not weakness. Silence is obedience. Silence, in this moment, is spiritual strategy. The angels have been positioned to intercept. But if you open your mouth prematurely, if you open that door emotionally, you will interrupt heaven's work. They are coming to reclaim territory that no longer belongs to them. But they can only reclaim what you give back, and your silence denies them access. Heaven says, stay silent, stay hidden, stay sealed. This is not a time to explain yourself. This is not a time to find out if they've changed. This is not the time for second chances. This is the time to guard what God rebuilt in the dark. What's coming is not just a conversation. It's a spiritual transaction. The moment you engage, energy transfers, power shifts, and the enemy will try to use your compassion as your collapse. You've been warned, not in fear, but in fire. Michael's sword is already drawn. The heavenly realm has sounded the trumpet, and your silence, that is your weapon now. That is your shelter. That is your strategy. Do not answer the message. Do not revisit the past. Do not give what was already reclaimed by heaven. This is your moment. And if you walk through it, without turning back, everything changes. This message is your escape window. Do not miss it. Type "I will not go back" in the comments to seal your obedience. Blessing code 1919 is now in motion. Do nothing. Say nothing. Move not a step outside the shield. Because the sword of heaven is drawn. Not to destroy, but to defend. You are surrounded now. Not by opinions. Not by memories. But by angels assigned to your preservation. This is not your fight to fix. This is not your war to explain. Heaven is handling it. But heaven moves in response to obedience, and your only command now is stillness. Be still. Be silent. Be unseen. This is divine protocol. Every time you speak in this hour, you run the risk of interfering with heaven's interception. You are being protected from sabotage, not just by others, but from your own emotions. The urge to reach out, the need to explain, the pull to check in, these are traps, not thoughts. Traps. Let angels intercept what your mouth would ruin. Because the battle now is not with flesh and blood. It's in the air. It's in the unseen. Words are weapons. And silence is your sword. Your silence will save you this time. You don't need to prove you've grown. You don't need to explain your distance. You don't need to justify your elevation. Those who were never assigned to your destiny will never understand your decision. And that's okay. You were not called to comfort others at the expense of your covering. You were not chosen to explain God's movements in your life to people who only appear when your soul is sore. Heaven is removing the leeches, the pretenders, the placaters, and your silence is the divine vacuum. Say nothing. Text no one. Post nothing. Sit in the shelter. Rest in the retreat. Because this silence is not emptiness. It is sacred. It is loud in the spirit. It is thunder to the watchers who thought you would fold. Your stillness is warfare when your obedience is sacred. Repeat this now. I am shielded. I am sealed. I am unseen by the unclean. The enemy cannot follow you where you are going unless you take him with you. Do not carry the familiar into the field of favor. Let them wonder. Let them speculate. You are not required to bleed in front of those who never bandaged you. Step back and observe. Heaven is building your case. Every tear, every prayer, every hour of aching, it was not wasted. It was evidence. And now, the court of heaven has ruled. Protection surrounds you. Proximity is denied. This is not the season for explaining. It is the season for exiting. Quietly. Divinely. With power. God is speaking louder in your stillness than you ever could with your words. Let him finish the work. Let him seal the door. Let him prove that obedience will open more than effort ever could. Type I am shielded in the comments if you're staying under God's hand. Blessing code 3131 is now activated around you. You are not the broken one they remember. They may still see the version of you who cried for closure, who tolerated disrespect, who smiled through suppression, but they are staring at a ghost. Because the person they studied, the one they manipulated, the one they counted on staying confused, that person is gone. That version of you was buried in silence. That version of you was consumed in the furnace. And what emerged was not a survivor, it was a weapon forged in fire. They still speak to your past self. They still use the tone that worked on the old you. But they have no access to the upgraded you. They still try to touch a spirit that has been sealed. That's why it no longer fits. That's why their presence now feels like poison. It's not that they changed. It's that you've been reforged. Fire was not your destruction. It was your design. Heaven didn't allow the pressure to crush you. It allowed the fire to create you. You've been reshaped, remade, redefined, not through applause but through agony. And now, you are too powerful to pretend to be powerless. You stepped into peace, but that peace is laced with power. It is not passive. It is not weak. It is the calm of one who knows their identity. Your stillness is not surrender. It is sacred strength. You've broken loops that ran for generations. You've silenced voices that echoed for years. And now the enemy doesn't know how to access you. because you're no longer operating in the same frequency. This pain wasn't your end. It was your entrance into identity, into discernment, into divine clarity. And yes, you were underestimated. Yes, you were misread. Yes, they thought you would beg for their energy. But instead, you chose elevation over explanation. You chose isolation for the sake of intimacy with God. And that decision, that decision, shook the kingdom of darkness. Because silence wasn't just your escape. It was your rebirth. And now, your voice carries authority. Not the kind you earned, but the kind you inherited when you didn't retaliate, when you didn't curse back, when you didn't post your pain for attention. Heaven rewarded your restraint, and now your presence speaks louder than your past. You're stepping into power disguised as peace. That is why they don't recognize you. That is why you feel the tension between who you were and who you've become. Because peace is offensive to those who only understand chaos. Your silence shook their plans. They were counting on the old you. They were counting on the emotional you. They were counting on the broken version that needed them. But when you refused to respond, when you chose stillness over self-defense, you activated a level of favor that silence alone can summon. You are not in hiding. You are in harvest. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. And the realm of darkness is trembling because your power didn't scream. It simply stood still. You have nothing left to prove. Your transformation is the proof. Your elevation is the evidence. Let them wonder. Let them talk. You are already walking in what they never saw coming. The crown on your life was not placed in public. It was set in private. And now, every step you take is a statement. You survived what should have silenced you. You rose from what was designed to bury you. You forgave what nearly destroyed you. You are not just a survivor. You are a sign. A sign that God still anoints the overlooked. A sign that destiny still reaches through ashes. A sign that silence is a strategy, not a weakness. Type I am transformed in the comments if you know this is your hour. Blessing code 9229 is now commanding your steps. God, let them see your weakest, but only briefly. Heaven was not blind when you cried. The angels did not turn their heads when you slipped into confusion. Your silence was not ignored. It was recorded. And every tear, every groan, every moment of surrender was building a case, not against you, but against the one who came when you were weak. This wasn't a fall. This was a trap. For them, what they thought was your lowest moment was actually heaven's snare. What they perceived as an opening was really their unveiling. Because God had to expose intentions in order to protect destiny. They walked into your life not realizing that heaven had set the stage. Every word they spoke was monitored. Every motive they carried was weighed. And while you were breaking, heaven was baiting. This was not a setup for your failure. This was a strategy for your promotion. Your next level required exposure. God needed to show you who they really were. Not for your destruction, but for your discernment. Because where He's taking you, you cannot carry the familiar. Where He's sending you, you cannot afford emotional interference. This exposure wasn't a punishment, it was purification. Heaven whispered your name in the council of the divine. Your name was mentioned among angels. Your future was deliberated over by principalities. And God declared, they are ready. Remove the veil. The betrayal you experienced wasn't random. It was prophecy in disguise. It was written before your birth. A test scripted into your journey, not to fail you, but to forge you. And now, because you did not retaliate, because you chose silence, because you trusted heaven's timing. You are being promoted through pain. The wounds you carry are not weaknesses. They are witnesses. Witnesses to your obedience. Witnesses to your restraint. Witnesses to your worth. This is why the enemy tried to keep you entangled. This is why confusion clouded your discernment. Because your next level required that heaven cleanse your circle. And now, that cleansing is complete. You've been elevated. Not just emotionally, not just spiritually, but prophetically. There are doors opening now that would have been blocked had you stayed entangled. There are blessings arriving now that require your clarity, not your comfort. You are not stepping out of betrayal. You are stepping into blessing. And the one who tried to delay you, the one who came at your lowest hour, heaven has removed their permission. They no longer have access to your atmosphere. You are being moved upward, outward, onward. The silence bought your exit. The obedience built your escape. The discernment opened the door. This is your confirmation. God used your weakness to trap your enemy and prepare your throne. Heaven elevated you while they underestimated you. And now, the only response necessary is worship. Not revenge. Not reaction. Worship. For what was meant to crush you has only crowned you. If this message resonates with your spirit, and you feel led to support what we do, consider giving a super thanks. A gift of $20 helps bring more revelation and truth to those walking through dark valleys. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating through the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. Be sure to subscribe for exclusive words, spiritual insight, and prophetic updates. Your next breakthrough might arrive with the next message. Stay connected. Stay consecrated. Type I am promoted in the comments if you receive this elevation. Blessing code 1010 is now unlocking divine favor over your path. Say it out loud. I will not return. This is your declaration. This is your war cry. This is the statement that severs the last invisible string trying to pull you back into cycles that heaven already ended. Destiny does not allow detours. You can delay obedience, but you cannot rewrite what you were born to do. There is no space left for comfort zones disguised as companionships. The ones who kept showing up when you were weak have no place in your strength. You must decide now. You must align now. Destiny demands decision. Alignment requires action. It will not accommodate old versions of you. It will not pause for you to explain your absence to those who lost their right to your presence. This moment, this very moment, is where the line is drawn in the spirit. You cannot return to what wounded you and expect to carry fresh oil. You cannot hold hands with the past while trying to embrace the promise. Say it again. I will not return. You have crossed a threshold. You've been called into something that cannot be explained to people still living in delay. Your yes to God is not casual. It is costly. It demands silence where you used to seek closure. It demands release where you once sought reassurance. It demands obedience where you once made excuses. Heaven waits for your yes. Not a polite nod. Not a passive agreement. But a fierce, all-consuming, no-looking-back kind of yes. A yes that costs friendships. A yes that makes room for divine assignments. A yes that makes hell tremble because you finally see the truth. There is power in your surrender. There is glory in your obedience. And right now, your destiny is not asking for more effort. It's asking for purity. Pure decisions. Pure alignments. your motives. God isn't just elevating you, He's refining you. Now is the time to activate. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel more ready. Not when they apologize. Not when you've explained yourself enough. Now, pick up your pen. Start journaling what the Spirit is showing you. Consecrate your thoughts. Get into position. Let your tongue cleave to the roof of your mouth before you say something that heaven didn't authorize. Let your feet stay planted in the presence of God before you walk into rooms that you've already been released from. This isn't just your next level. It's your inheritance. And you will not inherit what belongs to you by playing with what was sent to destroy you. Your silence was your strategy, but now your voice is your sword. Now is the time to speak purpose, prophesy your exit, declare your freedom, announce your alignment, speak over your atmosphere. You are no longer waiting for clarity, you are declaring it. You are no longer seeking peace, you are releasing it. You are no longer entertaining delay, you are canceling it. The fear is gone. The hesitation is broken. You've seen too much now. You felt the sting of false comfort, and now you crave only the truth of God's presence. You've been called to walk boldly, to walk humbly, to walk in holy authority. No more delay. No more loops. No more conversations with confusion. No more open doors for the spiritually unqualified. Your destiny is waiting for movement, not emotion, not negotiation. Movement. God is not repeating this instruction again. The Spirit is clear. Do not return. Do not reach back. Do not explain again. Let them think what they will. Your destiny was never dependent on their understanding. It was anchored in God's calling. This is the hour. Not next season. Not when it's easier. Now. The gates are opening. The heavens are recording. The angels are responding. And your feet must now walk the path you were preserved for. Speak the promise. Walk in the word. Line your habits with your prophecy. Type "I will not return" in the comments if you're stepping into divine destiny. Lesson code 4411 is now activated. While you were breaking, while you were weeping, while your mind was trying to make sense of the betrayal, something sacred was happening behind the scenes. In the realm you could not see, while your soul felt like it was collapsing, heaven was not still. The silence in your world was not mirrored in the spirit. The silence you obeyed became currency. While they watched your fall, angels bartered your victory. Yes, there was a silent exchange. While they took your vulnerability for weakness, angels were purchasing glory with your groans. The heavens heard what your words couldn't express. While you were confused, heaven was conducting spiritual negotiations on your behalf. Your tears purchased what your strength never could. Your humility provoked what your striving could not produce. Heaven has a record, not of your photos, not of your posts, not of your perfectly crafted answers, but of your groans. Groans that said, "God, I don't understand, but I still trust you." Groans that said, "Lord, I won't fight, I'll surrender." Every silent prayer became a transaction. Every moment you chose obedience over revenge was documented in the courts of heaven. There are scrolls with your name on them, scrolls that contain every decision to forgive, every refusal to retaliate, every act of worship when you felt like quitting. And in exchange for your silence, heaven is releasing power. Not just physical breakthrough, but spiritual upgrades. Discernment, authority, favor, and a peace that cannot be counterfeited. That is what this pain bought you. That is what your stillness summoned. Favor is replacing familiarity. You will need to go back to who you were. You won't need to find old versions of comfort. God is releasing something that does not look like what you lost, because what you lost was lesser than what He's giving. This is why you've been restless. This is why you couldn't settle. Your spirit sensed justice was moving. You didn't understand why your sleep was interrupted, why your dreams were intense, why your discernment became razor sharp. It's because something was being bartered. Something was being exchanged. You did lose. You traded. You bartered tears for truth. You exchanged agony for authority. You gave up the known for the sacred. And the return on that exchange, it's coming in waves. Even now, heaven is completing the exchange. Doors are unlocking. People are being removed. Resources are being released. And the enemy is furious because the strategy didn't work. You didn't collapse. You surrendered. You didn't run. You waited. Now the release had been authorized. Now the silence has done its full work. Now the enemy's access is revoked. God is returning everything that was stolen, not in the way you expect, but in the form your spirit actually needs. He's replacing confusion with clarity. He's replacing emotional addiction with holy alignment. He's replacing every loss with legacy. You didn't lose. You traded in silence for power. And now your next chapter begins, not with noise, but with divine authority. Type "the exchange is complete" in the comments if you receive this. Blessing code 3232 is now releasing heavenly returns. It has begun. The reversal has been ordered. The scales have tipped. Heaven's court has ruled in your favor, not in response to your words, but in response to your silence, your integrity, your quiet surrender when war waged all around your spirit. What they planned, what they plotted, what they whispered in dark places, it has all reversed direction. What they meant for harm is now serving your elevation. The same mouths that cursed you in secret are choking on your rising. The same hands that tried to control you are now restricted by divine boundaries. They thought they were operating in secrecy, but heaven was watching. Heaven documented it all. Their manipulation, their timing, their performance, a trance, a deception. You didn't fight back, and because of that, heaven fought for you. The reversal is not just symbolic. It is literal. The pit they dug is now becoming their own snare. The very delay they designed for you is swallowing their own progress. The same words they used to distort your name are now boomeranging back with spiritual consequence. God does not delay justice. He stores it. He lets it grow, lets it multiply, lets it gain weight, and then He releases it suddenly. Suddenly, you'll see it. Suddenly, the favor will fall. Suddenly, their power will shatter. Suddenly, the confusion will lift. This isn't vengeance. This is vindication. This is divine reversal. This is heaven declaring, you were right to trust me. You were right to walk away. You were right to hold your peace. You were right to choose consecration over confrontation. You were right to obey the nudge that made no sense to your emotions. God weighed their actions, every intention, every spiritual intrusion, every lie they told while pretending to love you. And because you did not curse them, He will not only restore you, He will promote you. They didn't just mess with a person, they interfered with a prophetic vessel. They interfered with divine timeline. And God does not take that lightly. When you are marked by heaven, those who rise against you don't just answer to you, they answer to God. You will not see this reversal with natural eyes at first, but you will feel it. You will feel the peace return. You will feel the sudden lifting of fog. You will feel the release of what was spiritually tied to you. There will be dreams that confirm. There will be interruptions to their own lives they cannot explain. That's because God has spoken. Enough. This is the hour of divine justice. Heaven doesn't operate on your timeline, but it never fails to operate. The truth has been released. The manipulation has been exposed. And the counterfeit connections are collapsing in real time. You won't have to fight for your name. God is clearing the air. You won't have to beg to be understood. God is writing the narrative. You are being vindicated without revenge. And the best part, they will have to watch you rise. They will see you thrive without their presence. They will hear about your peace. They will feel the absence of your energy. They will know that something divine covered you. This is why you couldn't retaliate. This is why God told you to stay silent. Because this victory is being announced by heaven, not by you. Rest now in the assurance that justice has arrived. Not because you demanded it, but because heaven decreed it. Favor has kissed your name. Restoration has found your door. Promotion is entering your story. You are rising, not in spite of what they did, but because of what they did. And this is only the beginning. If this prophetic word has pierced your spirit, and you feel called to sow into what was released, consider giving a super thanks. Even $20 empowers us to keep speaking what heaven is saying. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating through the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. More divine strategies, insights, and prophetic moments are being poured out. Stay ready. Stay aligned. The next message may be the one that shifts everything. Type "Justice has found me" in the comments if this confirms your spirit. Blessing code 5151 has now been loosed in your atmosphere. This was never just about them. It was about you. This journey was never about exposing their intentions alone. It was about revealing your identity. The pain didn't arrive to punish you. It arrived to activate you. The betrayal didn't come to break you. It came to build the altar where your obedience would release glory. Now listen closely, because the final seal is here. The final affirmation from heaven is descending upon your life. You are not forsaken. You are not forgotten. You are not fragile. You are sealed, seen, and sent. There is an oil on your life that can no longer be contaminated. There is a call on your name that cannot be canceled. There is a fire in your bones that cannot be quenched. Heaven saw every second. Heaven heard every cry. And heaven is answering now, not with words but with release. Release from the cycles. Release from confusion. Release from hidden warfares. This is the hour of divine distinction. You are being marked for the miraculous. You are being called out of the crowd. Your silence made room for your separation. Your obedience made room for your overflow. No more looking back. No more asking why. No more doubting your discernment. What happened had to happen. What left had to leave. What broke had to be shattered so God could show you what was truly unbreakable. Your spirit. Now rise. Not just in posture, but in presence. Rise with boldness. Rise with the authority of one who has been called, cleansed, and commissioned. This next chapter requires no apology. It requires action. It requires trust. It requires full faith in the God who orchestrated it all. You are not walking into mystery. You are walking into manifestation. And as you rise, know this. No weapon formed shall prosper. No voice raised against you shall stand. You are surrounded. You are saturated. You are standing beneath an open heaven. Michael did not come to comfort you. He came to awaken you. And now that you are awake, nothing can ever lull you back into spiritual sleep. The one who showed up when you were weak no longer has access. The assignment is broken. The agenda is exposed. And you are rising unbothered, unmatched, and unmovable. Go forth now. Carry the glory. Speak the truth. Walk in power. You are the answer, the vessel, the firebrand. You are the one God preserved for this hour. You are not just delivered. You are dangerous to darkness. Type I am sealed in the comments if you receive this. Blessing code 1212 is now flooding your life with supernatural covering.